Works meeting. Today is Thursday, April 28, 2022, and the time is 4 p.m. Diane, could you kindly call the roll?
Commissioner Moriarty?
Here.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Here.
Commissioner Lemon?
Here.
Commissioner Shea?
Here.
And Mayor Donches is absent.
Okay, we have a quorum, so the meeting will proceed. Also here is Alderman O'Brien, our liaison from the Board of Aldermen. Item number 2, is there a motion, please?
The motion is to approve the agenda as presented.
That is the motion. Is there any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item 3, Commissioner Lemon, would you mind making that motion?
The motion is to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of March 24th, 2022.
That's the motion. Are there any comments? Seeing no comments, we'll move for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next is public comment. Before we get going on public comment, just a couple of guidelines, please. If you have a public comment, please come up to the mic and state your name and address. Also, comments are limited to 3 minutes, as they have been in the past. With that, we will open up to public comments.
Patching of the cut-in on roads and whether that could be revisited on trying to get better enforcement when a road has to be cut into that has been freshly paved. I went down Hall Street and I took photographs that I'll send to you of cut-ins that were done on Hall Street, that the density of the patch is.
Okay, that the density of the patch is very well done, extremely well compacted. And then after they put the patch in, they did that black seal, crack sealing all the way around the patch, sort of putting that shiny band around it. Very level with the road, very well done. If you go down Broad Street and you see that street was pretty newly paved, and then they must have had maybe gas or water problems, I don't know which one. There was some problem on that road that resulted in the need to cut in. There's maybe 5 or 6 patches between Coliseum Ave and the Broad Street School. Those patches are a lot rougher. They're not as compacted, they're not dense, they're not level with the pavement, they're not crack sealed or banded. And I think we should try to develop more consistent protocols on that, particularly when we spend so much money doing the roads. And I know there's certain regulations that if you're going to do a patch, you got to go curb to curb or whatever. And we've probably never done that enforcement, but I think the consistency of the patch quality should be looked at. And some level of oversight, particularly on high traffic roads like Broad Street, which gets a lot of traffic, should be looked at. The second issue is disc golf. And I would like to ask this board to consider, since there appears to be more public interest, holding another walkthrough with potentially some of the neighbors or people who have raised some concerns. I saw the walkthrough for the winter time and I was going to go, but it was canceled because of icy conditions. You then did a walkthrough on the 15th, but I was on vacation and didn't get back into town until the 16th. So I missed it. I went over yesterday and walked around. And frankly, I'm really surprised by the amount of cutting and
30 seconds.
Removal of trees to the land. When I was here and listened to that pitched in September of 2021, it was minimal tree cutting, high branches. I really thought it was going to be very non-invasive. I was shocked when I walked in there yesterday. Absolutely shocked. There was no permit pulled for intent to cut. Not certain what the intent to cut laws are, but I've checked with assessing on that and they're looking into it.
Time?
Okay. To invite your neighbors.
Yes, go ahead.
Tracy Pappas, 12 Sport Terrace. I actually think I did watch some of the neighbors at the last Board of Aldermen meeting. So I think it would really be a show of goodwill to go ahead and do a walkthrough for the neighbors regarding the disc golf. As I mentioned when I was on the Board of Public Works, that I really felt that any trees slated for removal should have been marked prior to the tree removal, and the neighbors should have been involved in the process. And the butters notified. If you do a project at your house, a butters really do need to be notified. And I understand the folks who envisioned this project really were adamant that it needed. Are very well attended. Parking has always been a premium at Roby Park. The park contains an outstanding playground which is used by residents throughout the city, and I'm just wondering what's going to happen if there's a large tournament on the weekend, if families with children won't have a place to park. And there are communities close by that have such golf courses. I just think that projects like this might be more successful if the public at large, the neighbors and the butters are included in the planning phase. You know, I know that it's easy to say, you know, when I was on the board, I was kind of portrayed as wrecking everybody's fun, but I was simply trying to be an adult in the room and attempting to get neighbors involved. I obviously hold no ill will towards anyone who planned this project, but I'm just a big believer in public input. I thank you very much for your time.
Are there other public comments?
Richard Smart, 159 Searles Road. I'm a lifelong Nashua resident, avid disc golfer, and one of the driving forces behind this project. I'm here today to clear up a lot of the issues that have been brought to this board, that have been brought to the public's attention. I agree with a lot of the sentiment that's been shared today. This project has been very well documented through the processes of a city's municipality. We have followed all the rules. We have brought to the attention of everyone involved our goals. We are doing exactly as we said we were doing. A lot of the safety concerns that have been brought forth, yes, there are risks involved with every sport, but we are focused on safety. We brought in a world champion disc golfer. He's a world-renowned course designer, and he is going to make sure that this property is safe, not only for disc golf, but for everyone else that uses the park. I think that we as a community, the disc golf community in Nashua, in southern New Hampshire, have crossed all of our T's, dotted our I's, and we have brought to you a petition with signatures, and we have done everything in our power to make sure that everyone has been notified of the processes. There's a little bit of sour milk going on here, as people have now realized that this project is coming to reality and they don't like it. We, as a community, will stand strong behind this project and will answer any and all questions that you have moving forward. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other public comments?
I have also been one of the major driving forces behind this. This is a great community sport. It allows players of all levels, all ages. My son and my daughter, both 8 and 9, are here today too. They both play on the regular. They enjoy going to school and talking about disc golf. They've both done projects in school about disc golf. It's something that is really embedded in them, and they enjoy it. They love talking to people, love talking to friends about it. This moving forward will be great for the community. It's going to be great for generations growing up, and in all honesty, it secures that patch of woods to almost never be developed. There's no chance of it ever being developed by anybody because of disc golf. That community is so strong that those woods will stay there forever. And that's really, I just wanted to say my little 2 cents on how I feel about it. It's going to be great.
Are there any further public comments before we close the public comment session? Folks who are listening online, could you kindly mute your device? We are getting some feedback here during the meeting. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item number 5, and Commissioner Schoeneman, if you could read that motion.
Move to recommend a positive referral, R-22-020, authorizing the mayor and the city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed the amount of $37,500,000 to fund the second 5-year phase of a 10-year pavement management project.
Thank you. Any comments?
Is the city engineer going to speak?
He could if you'd like him to.
Okay, city engineer, please. Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of months ago, we came before you and we gave a presentation about the status of the paving program, the fact that the city embarked on a 10-year paving plan, and it funded the first 5 years through a previous resolution. So we are seeking to fund the second 5 years of that program to complete the 10-year plan. As shown in the previous presentation, we've had good impact from the first 5 years, raising the average PCI, or pavement condition index, in the city about 11 points over that time frame. So it's been a good program, and we propose to continue it. We did attend the public hearing on this item on Monday night, and it was presented at Infrastructure on Wednesday. And of course, you guys had an advanced view of it a month or two ago. So be happy to address any questions.
Seeing no questions. Oh, yes, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say that last night's infrastructure meeting was attended by City Engineer Hudson, and also at the budget hearing. So if the public has additional questions or want to see the presentation, I'm sure on Channel 16, if they flip back to last night's meeting, which would be the infrastructure meeting of April 27th, and the budget meeting, I think, of the 26th, April 25th. And they can see that presentation, but it's definitely money well spent right now on our roads, something we haven't done in a long time. So good presentation, Mr. Hudson. Thank you. Very informative.
We'll move from the vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Listeners, could you please mute your device? Motion carries. Item number 6, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve a 3-year contract for general engineering services for the City of Nashua's landfills covering FY '23 up to FY '25 at an annual cost not to exceed $220,000 to Sanborn Head and Associates of Concord, New Hampshire, pending approval of the FY '23 operating budget. The term of this contract will be from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. Funding will be through Department 168, bless you, Solid Waste, Fund Solid Waste, Account Classification 53, Professional and Technical Services.
Thank you, that's the motion. We have Superintendent LaFleur here to fill us in.
Sure. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent, Solid Waste. As stated, this is our general engineering services that Sanborn Head does for the city of Nashua. They're our preferred engineer, very, very well known throughout the state. DES works with them. They know what they're doing. These services will include air permitting and emissions reporting and any related questions or answers to DES. It also they also work on our groundwater reporting with any questions from DES. They also work on our annual waste capacity analysis and any other, and our financial assurance, which is when we close our landfills, we need to have a certain amount of money set to close our landfills. They review that every year and update us on how much I have to budget for to put into our financial assurance through the state. They also do all kinds of general engineering, any questions that we have. If we have any issues at the landfill, they'll answer any questions for us to make sure that we're doing everything properly within DES's regulations.
Questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move forward to vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 7, Commissioner Lemon.
The motion is to approve the purchase of one wireless mobile lift system from Ari Phoenix Incorporated, Lebanon, Ohio, for a price of $74,532.97 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 013020-ARP. Funding will be through Department 161, Fund General, Account Category 71, Equipment.
Thank you. You may,
John Stewart,
John.
Street Department Fleet Manager. The lifts we're replacing have failed all their safety inspections, and they're non-repairable because that company has gone out of business. So that is a safety issue, and these lifts will be replacing that lift system. They're approximately 20 to 25 years old.
Commissioner Sherman.
What's the lead time for getting this equipment in?
6 months.
Okay. So you don't anticipate installing it until 6 months from
Actually,
now?
as soon as they come in, we'll be looking at filling in our maintenance pit,
Okay.
because that is a safety hazard in its own right. So when they come in, we'll be moving forward with that.
Okay. And how are you managing now? How many lifts do you have besides the ones that are not safe?
As far as the heavy truck lifts, we're down to one set of lifts.
That's not very much.
No.
All right. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you. Is this a singular wireless mobile lift system, or is the brand One Wireless Mobile?
It's Ari Hetra is the brand.
Okay.
They have their own dedicated wireless. And when I say wireless, it's wireless between the wheel lift posts.
Yeah,
It does not connect to the internet.
Just for further clarity, on my sheet here, the word one is capitalized, and so I'm wondering if it's a single lift or if
It's
one is,
one set of 6.
so it's 6 lifts.
6.
Thank you.
6 posts.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart. I don't see any other questions. Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 8. Commissioner Schoeneman.
I move to approve the purchase of aquatic invasive weed treatment services from Solitude Lake Management for the sum of $40,640. Funding for this purchase will be from Department 177 Park and Recreation, Fund Trust, Account Classification 54, Property Services.
Thank you. Superintendent Conan.
Commissioners, Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. This work will be performed in late June or July of 2022. This proposal is for the Mine Falls portion of the treatments that are part of the treatment of the Nashua River and Sandy Pond being managed through community development by Waterways Manager Deb Chisholm. These water bodies in Mine Falls Park receive the treatments every other year. The treatments help to combat invasive aquatic weeds such as milfoil and fanwort. This program has been in place since 2009 and has made a substantial improvement in both the mill pond and canal. Any questions?
Yes, Alderman O'Brien.
Just to make sure, if I remember from the past, there is some state contribution to this, is there not, into mitigating some of the milfoil?
That I can't speak to, Commissioner.
Yes, there is. That's part of community development's portion, but there is, and I'm not sure exactly how that works, but you're correct, there is some state.
Okay, yeah, thank you,
funding
Director,
that
because
goes
I just
with
want
that.
it out there to the taxpayers so that they
Yes.
understand this is a combined effort in working on this invasive. And I urge people, anybody who portage or boat, please be careful. This is one of the reasons why it's
Right.
very invasive, but thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you. Okay, we've heard the motion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. We're now moving on to wastewater department. Motion A, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the user warrants as presented.
Okay, that's the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Commissioner Lemon, item number B.
To approve the 3-year contract in an amount not to exceed $2,940,000 with Resource Management Incorporated of Holderness, New Hampshire, for management of biosolids at the wastewater treatment facility. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund Wastewater, Account Classification 54, Property Services.
Thank you. Superintendent Boucher.
Thank you. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So the wastewater facility currently produces roughly 8,000 wet tons of biosolids per year. It's a byproduct of cleaning wastewater. We truck it out daily, and we have to have a management company that manages it once it leaves our gate. So they distribute it on farmlands and stuff like that. They handle all the permitting and all the regulatory agency requirements. RMI is the company that we've used, currently using. We've used them in the past as well. They were the low bidders on a recent bid. We'd like to continue using them for a 3-year contract, which would start July 1st. Be happy to answer any questions.
I see no questions for you, Superintendent, so, all right. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to engineering. Item A, Commissioner Schoeneman.
Move to approve the sewer service permits and fees as submitted.
That is the motion. There's typically no questions on that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. Item number B, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve 2 poll license petitions as listed in the staff memo.
That is the motion. Questions? No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number C, Commissioner Lemon.
To approve a drain layers license for Rowell's Services LLC of Northfield, New Hampshire, in accordance with Nashua City Code 255-19, issuance of drain layers license, and authorize the Division of Public Works to temporarily suspend the license if work is found to be unsatisfactory during an initial 6-month probationary period.
Mr. Chair, I'll just affirm that we did receive an application from Raoul Services. We checked their references. They provided 3 different references. All were municipal officials. All said that they did good work completing water and sewer projects. So we find no reason not to grant them a drain layers license. We just do ask for the stipulation that we can rescind it if we need to within a 6-month probationary period, as they haven't done much work in Nashua prior.
I'm curious, is this something you usually request if they haven't done much work in
Yeah,
Nashua?
that's kind of a new thing we added. We decided it was a good idea. We have had some new drain layers that, we weren't that thrilled with, I should say. So I'd say that's the exception rather than norm, but we kind of see this as a good standard practice going forward.
Great. Further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Okay. Next, motion D under engineering, Commissioner Schoeneman.
I move to approve the engineering services contract amendment with Hayner Swanson Incorporated of Nashua, New Hampshire, in the amount of $243,585 for professional services for the sewer rehabilitation program. Funding through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund Bond, Activity Sewer Infrastructure Improvements.
Dan Hudson, city engineer. The Board of Aldermen recently approved a sewer bond resolution funding another year of sewer work. That includes rehabilitation, the CCTV work, the lining work, but also the dig contract work. And it's a significant amount. We really need engineering support to help us with that. There's a lot of planning, design, bidding of projects, contract administration, and field oversight during construction. So we propose to award this to Hayner Swanson. They've provided that service in the past. They're also the engineer that provides similar services for our paving program, so it really helps us having the same company provide both those for coordination purposes. So that's the request, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Okay, seeing no questions, thank you. We'll move the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number E, letter E, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve change order number 4 to the asphalt testing contract with SW Cole Engineering Incorporated of Londonderry, New Hampshire, in the amount of $63,795. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund, Bond, Activity, Paving.
So this is, just as it says, is testing services. We do our engineering planning, and then the contractor does the paving, but it's important to provide oversight to make sure the city's getting the specified materials it's requested, as well as that the pavement's being applied and compacted properly and all those sorts of things. SW Cole's provided this service previously. They do full-time inspection at the paving plant where they're producing the material, and then they do field density testing, concrete inspection, and laboratory analysis for pavement that's been placed. So this is an important part of the paving program, this oversight. We feel it's money well spent, and that's why we request that it be awarded.
Commissioner Shea.
Do you feel that the cost involved here is protective and will reduce is it a good insurance policy, basically, is my question. Is it worth the money? Sometimes insurance policies aren't worth the money, right? And so I appreciate your thoughts.
Sure. So this is, it's active work. It's not just insurance. It's, active work ensuring that we're getting what we're paying for. Not here, but I've been involved in a pavement dispute in another community previously. Dragged on a couple years. There was a lot of battle back and forth about did we get what we asked for and that sort of thing. It was really important to have test results supporting the fact that we did actually in that case we didn't get what we had asked for and had seen some premature cracking. It's no coincidence that you get better results if people know that you're watching and paying attention, and that's what this is, in addition to the other oversight we provide. So, yes, I certainly feel this is money well spent. I am aware that we, in the past, prior to me getting here, I know the mayor has spoken to it before, that we have had some issues in the past, and those have been resolved through this additional testing work.
Just to follow up, if I may, do you expect this to be an annual expense?
It is an annual expense, yes. It's when we plan our program, we plan for the engineering and the field inspection, and this is one piece of that that we always include in the program.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shoneman.
So I know that we use a number of different subcontractors to do the actual paving that the city plans around the city. And this is a great way to make sure that everybody's laying down good quality pavement that's going to last, correct?
To be clear, this is for the paving program where this year we have one contractor at Sunshine Paving. This doesn't cover every bit of paving that happens around the city, through trench repairs and things like that I mentioned previously. This is dedicated to the large paving program that we run for that specific work.
So the main part of the paving program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So relative to what the resident said during public comment, is there a way to apply this same kind of standard to the patches that are being put down for utility work? Everyone does their own. So if Liberty cuts into the road for a patch, they take care of the patch. And as a resident pointed out, some patches are way better than others. Is there any way that we could also somehow work in something like this to see if we can get all of these patches up to standard?
I think it would be problematic to try to do it for all the patches because there's so many of them and across the city. It is, primarily we have a specification. It lists depths of pavement and that sort of thing, and they do bond for their work. So if we have problems during a year period or so, they're on the hook to come back and fix that. I would note that the area that the resident mentioned on Broad Street, that was Liberty Gas. They had emergency repair where they had overpressurization, had 6 locations, blue basically, and they've patched those, but they're not done because that is a moratorium roadway, and it is intended that they'll come back and mill and overlay. So although those patches, may not be as nice as some of the others, that will all be addressed through the milling and paving effort at a later date. And we've talked potential alternatives with them about maybe milling half the road instead of the whole road, that sort of thing. That will have to come before the board for review and approval, and we'll be back to talk about that at a later date.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, no further questions? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, letter F, under engineering, Commissioner Lemon.
To approve the award of the construction contract for the 2022 Pavement Preservation Program to Seal Coating Incorporated of Braintree, Mass. in an amount of $383,928.50. Funding through Department 160 Admin/Engineering, Fund, Bond, Activity, Paving.
So this is the basically preservation work. So we pave a road and then after a couple years, we'd like to go back and address any cracking, seal the cracks, that sort of thing. It helps the pavement last longer by not allowing the water intrusion into the pavement. If you want to go back and see that presentation, we talked about a couple different things we do under this program. There's the crack sealing, there's the fog sealing, there's some coating, and we're looking at some bonded wearing course too, and I won't go into details now, but this is the part of the program where we keep our good roads good, and again, this is part of what we've been doing annually as under the paving program.
Okay, questions? No further questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter G, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase and installation of 6 traffic camera systems on Main Street by Electric Light Company of Cape Nettic, Maine, in the amount of $161,580. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, funds prior year escrow, $130,420, account category 71 equipment, Department 160 Admin Engineering, Fund Trusts, Amherst Street, $14,580, Main Street, $16,580, account category 71 equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've talked before about where we can and where it makes sense. We're replacing the loop system of vehicle detection at signalized intersections with these camera systems. They seem to work well. We seem to see improvements in the function of the intersection, and also they're obviously not as susceptible to damage being above the roadway versus in the roadway, where loops get cut continuously via utility work or sometimes paving and other things. So Main Street obviously is a area of high interest, high volume of traffic. We have the outdoor dining and that sort of thing. These camera systems will allow us to maximize the performance of that by improving vehicle detection, and they also have the added capability of continually counting traffic. So, spring, summer, fall, whatever, we can keep track and see how patterns change with the outdoor extended dining or other things, and make changes over time. I know one of the things we've been talking about, some different downtown traffic patterns potentially, and this will provide the data that we really need to support those type of changes. As you noted, there's a couple different funding sources. One is money that we escrowed last year. That's from last year's budget. That's the bulk of it because we had intended to do this work. And then there's some contributing funding from 2 of our corridor funds, which is money set aside or contributed basically from developer projects towards future improvements on the corridor.
Have we used this company before?
Yes, we've used them extensively. They've provided a number of cameras already for us. We did put this one out to bid because it was a large project. I mean, we've directly selected them for some previous ones. They were the sole bidder. And after bidding, they came in and they had some suggestions about changes to the bid. They thought that some of the intersections we had called for 2 cameras, they thought they would work fine on 1. So we kind of negotiated with them a little bit to come up with this current plan, which fell within our funding availability while still providing the same level of service.
Commissioner Shea?
Do these have, I guess my question is, do they record or do they operate as kind of a digital eye that provides you with data?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because I know a lot of people are concerned about video being recorded, that sort of thing. That's not what we use these for. We don't record the video. They're purely for vehicle detection. The cameras basically dumb down the video quality, so we can't zoom in and see a license plate or anything like that. But it is, we are able to see that feed from our office, so when we get a call about a problem at an intersection, we can remote in, and we can look at it in real time and see what's going on and observe it. So it does provide that added remote capability for us. But no, we're not recording the video. and it is just being used for vehicle detection and our remote access for troubleshooting.
And so the resolution is not such that there would be license plate or facial identification?
Exactly.
And this will not be used for law enforcement purposes, it's for traffic management?
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Commissioners, no further questions on this motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the award of the Canal Street Bridge repairs contract to New England Infrastructure Incorporated of Hudson, Massachusetts, in the amount of $373,750. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Funds, Grant and Capital Activities, Highway Block Grant Aid FY18 and FY18 Bridge Rehab.
So this bridge has served the city well for many years, but it does need some repairs. Canal Street's a heavily traveled corridor, over 30,000 vehicles a day. It is on the New Hampshire list of municipal red listed bridges, which is, is a category requires that improvements be made before you run the risk of it falling into a category where it has to be load restricted and that sort of thing. So it's important to repair this bridge and get it off the red list, and that's what this project will do. The work itself is not very complex. It does require getting in the river, building some coffer dams, and then making concrete repairs to the abutments and the piers and that sort of thing. So, and it's, of course, that's challenging. So that's why it costs what it costs. But with approval of this, work is expected to be completed this summer or fall during low flow. So that's the plan. We put it out to bid. As noted, we got 2 bids. The low bidder is a bridge engineer with experience, and we feel will do a good job. So we're recommending award.
I was just surprised by the difference in the bids. Is that usual? I mean, it seems like a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference, and sometimes it goes to what the company's specific capabilities are or their assumptions. That river goes up and down. We did bid this once before, and we only got a sole bid. Turns out we had to go do some additional permitting anyway. We didn't award at that time. Bids were similar to what they are here. But we did have a contractor that was interested that didn't bid because they were concerned about the river fluctuations. Since the original bid, we monitored and the river elevations, and we included that information so they'd have that. But yeah, you never know. I mean, sometimes people are busy, and so they're less interested in getting the job, and so for a variety of reasons, bids can vary quite a bit.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if you've already said this. Do I recall correctly that those bridges have kind of lamp post style finials on them? And so will this job repair those and bring them back to operation?
No, that wasn't a focus of this project. This is purely structural repairs. That would need to be a separate project. This project is addressing the substructure issues underneath, and then there was a vehicle crash that cracked one of the overlook areas on top of the bridge, one of the walls on top. So that's also will be evaluated and repaired as necessary. But this is purely structural to get it off the red list.
Okay. And just a follow-up, so with this collision, are you aware that whether or not we have pursued damages from the vehicle owner or operator, if you will? I'm just very curious about that process and to what extent we actually engage in that, because I often see the collars on lampposts on Main Street get cracked, or someone comes and drives into the tree in front of the Telegraph building and it never gets replaced, or the fencing at the end of Pearson Avenue surface lot. If you could speak more to that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So when we're aware of an issue, an issue's occurred, a crash, we reach out to our risk department, and they pursue, the funding through, through insurance settlement, basically, for repair. In this case, that's what we did. We reached out to them. We had our engineer prepare an estimate of what they thought it would cost, both for the engineering to design the repair as well as to make the actual repair. So that information was compiled and provided to risk. I don't know if they were successful in recouping that money or not, but that is, once we give them the information, then they handle the rest of that effort. So I'm not sure what the outcome of that was. But yeah, that's typically how the process works.
If I could, just one more. Director Photo, would it be possible to get data on at-fault damages to city properties, maybe over the past year, just to get an idea, and to what extent risk has been successful in obtaining damages?
I certainly can ask.
Okay, that would be appreciated.
Our risk man. I don't have that information, but I can ask for it.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, any other further questions? Let's move the motion then. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, Commissioner Lemon.
To approve the award for the purchase and installation of a 120-foot long by 6-foot wide pedestrian bridge to Beck and Bellucci Incorporated of Franklin, New Hampshire, in the amount of $205,200. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation, Fund, Trust, Mine Falls, Account Category 81, Capital Improvements.
Thank you, that's the motion.
So this is to buy a temporary bridge, but I'll just give you a little background on this. So we inspected all the pedestrian bridges in Mine Falls last year. There were some deficiencies noted, but nothing immediately troubling. But a few weeks ago, we did get a resident that called with a concern about this bridge, which is the pedestrian bridge near Nashua High School South, over the Nashua Canal. They raised their concern, and they were an engineer, so we took the concern seriously, went out and investigated. We also had noticed a change from the previous year, so we called our bridge engineer, Hoyle Tanner, to come down and look at the bridge. They had concerns, so then we, in abundance of caution, we immediately closed that bridge. And it remains closed because it clearly has got structural issues and is not repairable in a cost-effective way, in speaking with our bridge engineer. Our engineer was aware of a project occurring in Peterborough and the fact that they had a temporary bridge that was in use, that they would be completing that project and would no longer need. This pedestrian bridge obviously is a pretty heavily used one. Mine Falls is a great community resource. It connects, this bridge is a connection from the high school across to the park, and so it's an important facility for pedestrian travel in the city. So we are pursuing installing a temporary bridge. It will take at least a year to get a new replacement bridge, a permanent replacement bridge. So we're aware of this opportunity to get this temporary bridge and are seeking to jump on it, so to speak. Beck and Bellucci is a bridge contractor. The cost here is to mobilize to the site, install this bridge, which is a bit longer than the existing bridge, but we would set it off to the side of the existing bridge. They'll shore up and then, while the crane's there, remove the existing damaged bridge, structurally deficient bridge, and set that to the side so that we can then dispose of it. We do have some thoughts about where we can ultimately relocate this bridge to in the future for a permanent relocation and use it not only for this temporary use but a permanent use in the future. But this bridge only being 6 feet wide is probably not the permanent bridge for this location. So it's kind of multifaceted, but we're taking this step by step. But this first step here is to purchase and place this temporary bridge to restore travel at that location, and we expect that if all goes well, that we'll be able to do that sometime in June of this year.
Are we able to pull up GIS just to get an idea of this crossing and like what the adjacent crossings look like? Is that something that you'd be so kind as to do? Thank you.
This is the bridge right behind South?
Yeah.
By the
so
tennis
if you,
courts or whatever?
yes, if you walk by the fields, by the maintenance area there, it's
Right.
that bridge that's right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
While she's doing that, can I ask a question?
Sure, Commissioner Schoeneman.
Kind of a strange question, but is it common for people to have extra bridges lying around? And how did you know that they had one?
Yeah.
No, it's not common, and that's one of those things that
You found it on
when we
Facebook
found,
Marketplace.
when we heard about an opportunity, when we, it's like one of those things. Hey, we got a bridge problem, but I got to use bridges to sell you, right? Like the old joke. But when we heard about it, we based upon discussing with our engineer who does a lot of bridge work, they made it clear that there's not an abundance to use bridges. You've probably seen a lot of the Bailey-type bridges that are used temporarily for vehicle travel. So I've asked about those. Through some of the hurricanes that have occurred down south, a lot of those bridges left New England and went down there. So no, it's not like you can go to the used bridge store and pick one of these up easily. So that's why we, as soon as we heard about this opportunity, we jumped on it and been pursuing it. And our engineer, Hoyle Tanner, they do a lot of bridge work, so I'm sure if there was another used bridge somewhere, they would know about it and would have informed us about it. So I'm going to try to come up with a plan of sorts.
I could share it.
Yeah, today I was thinking, this would be good to have a picture, right? So I apologize for not having that.
Is that it?
What's that?
It's not it.
No, I can't see the screen too well either, so. Actually, I'm on Google. I want to go to Google Maps, I guess. It doesn't really say maps.
Dale, I might
Can
have
you-
it up.
What? Can you see
I might have
it?
it up if you go back to Zoom.
All right. You want me to give you back the keyboard? Or?
I'm not sure if that's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you
Is
got
that
it.
it?
You got it, yeah. Are you sharing screen?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the, the running track, and then this is the maintenance facility for the school. This is out back of the school. And the bridge we're talking about is right here. It's over the canal. And I don't know if I can zoom in or not, but there's no immediate, approximate other crossing. You have to go down under the highway, and I guess there's a crossing or something down there. So it's a ways around.
Right.
And what we'll do is, we'll bring this bridge in through this area next to the school in the crane, and erect that and remove the other one, and then that one will be in place until we can get a permanent bridge. That's going to require us to go through, an engineering exercise, and we'll have to order the bridge, or bid it out basically, and then that'll take a while to get. So. But yeah, you can see there's, this connection, over the canal, across the river over here to the park is a heavily traveled route.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And just one more question. Do you think that there would be additional utility to this bridge someday down the line? Is there anything that you can envision that this would be useful for after it's used here?
Yes, we do think so. I mean, we're thinking down maybe near the Holocaust Memorial down in that park area. There was we intended to do a bridge there at one point in time, and it didn't happen. I mean, this bridge is a little bit longer than we would have used, but a longer bridge can just span further. I think it will fit and might be able to work down there. If not, we'll sell it to somebody else probably, so.
Bridges are us.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
I just have a question, if I may. The fire department response out there, whether it be for a brush fire, medical emergency, and fortunately, there's occasional crime, maybe a police cruiser. This bridge has a rating for light vehicles for that type of usage?
The temporary bridge doesn't. It's only 6 feet wide. It's purely pedestrian travel. But when we replace it with a permanent bridge, that will be rated. These existing bridges were wood, you know, the beams were laminate, and those were rated for 5 ton. The requirements have changed since that construction, and now it's a higher load rating required, I think, on the order of 10 ton. So yeah, they'll be able to support ambulances and those type of things.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion, if I may, then follow up if I may? Suggestion that the fire department is informed of this project so they can put it within their pre-planning and make the appropriate changes, that they would have to use the other bridge to get access to that particular area.
Yeah, I've spoken with Chief Buxton about it.
Beautiful.
Previously, even before we knew there was a problem here, he was interested and brought up the issue of this whole mine falls and how they respond. And so where we're making replacements, we'll coordinate with them to try to accommodate their needs.
Okay, Alderman O'Brien?
I'm good, thank you.
Perfect, okay. Any other questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Nobody? Motion carries. Okay, we are on item J. Commissioner Schoeneman.
I move to approve the engineering contract for Mine Falls Park Bridge Engineering Services with Hoyle Tanner and Associates Incorporated, Manchester, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $150,000. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust, Mine Falls, account category 53 Professional Services.
Thank you.
So this item also is related to this bridge issue in Mine Falls Park. This engineering services will provide a number of things that we need. One is they'll assist us in the engineering aspects of the temporary bridge placement. We have to design some temporary abutments and do some permitting and that sort of thing. So they'll assist with that. They'll also assist with the engineering for the full replacement at that location. And all the engineering support for that. And then thirdly, we're aware that the Whipple Street Bridge also has some issues. So they'll investigate that and help us with capital programming cost needs, evaluating perhaps different types of bridges there, what they might cost, and help us determine what the capital needs are to do that. So it's looking like we may need to replace 2 bridges in this area, but these engineering services will help us do all that evaluation and confirm that and come to a place where we're ready to go figure out how to fund that work.
And if I'm not mistaken, the funding from the trust fund is from the cell towers at Mine Falls?
Yeah, that's correct. So the temporary bridge and then this engineering effort are being funded under that, and then we have some ideas maybe about how to fund the future replacement work, but a bit of work needs to be done until we get to that point to hone in better on what the actual cost will be.
That's great. Commissioner Shea, you had
Yeah, and my question's in a similar vein. What is the status of our cell tower contracts? As I recall, Nick Caggiano was very all about getting those done and making sure that we were able to fund great projects and maintenance at parks. Where are there any that are kind of pending that we need to attend to, I guess is my question.
The only one that is, I think, and it's already been negotiated, is Holman. There's a cell tower there that was increased a little bit, so we will obtain some additional revenue. In fact, the mayor and I were talking about that today. And I need to, Bill Mansfield oversees all of the cell towers in the city. And so I need to connect with him to see exactly how much more revenue we'll be getting from that, because there is some work that needs to be done in Holman. But what I could do is, next meeting, I could bring you with the, all of our cell tower accounts and what the balances are, if you'd be interested
Yeah,
in that.
that'd be interesting to see. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
That's great. Further questions on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're on item number K, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to consider the hardship request for Liberty Utilities to excavate in Kingsley Street at Hanover Street to install gas mains. That's
Typo there,
King-
I'm afraid.
I was going to say
Yeah,
Kingsley with a
there's-
G. I haven't heard of
there's
that one.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
There's an extra G in there.
City Engineer Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So tonight we have two moratorium requests. This is the first one from Liberty. They are working on replacing gas main in Hanover Street and West Hollis with the intent of clearing West Hollis for paving. We are paving a portion of West Hollis, but there's more to do. We need the gas main replaced before that happens. I do believe we have Brad Marks on the phone from Liberty, if you have any questions about this item.
Yes, this is Brad Marks from Liberty. I am here to field any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Liberty or for the city engineer? Okay, seeing no questions, we'll move the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
The motion carries. Item number L, Commissioner Lemon.
To consider the hardship request from Liberty Utilities to excavate in Lake Street at number 244 to install gas mains.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is another hardship request as noted. This is proposed so that they can replace the rest of the leak-prone gas on Lake Street. We've paved about 2/3 of Lake Street. We have about 1/3 to go, but that's held up by this gas work needing to be done. This, as I understand from Engineer Saunders, who manages our paving program, he's proposing that we work out an arrangement with Liberty about overlapping this work with our future planned paving. So again, it's unfortunate to have to cut in a new pavement, but we have a plan to address it, and that would be, a contribution from them to do that in lieu of them doing it. So we'll figure out the details on that later, but and Brad Marks is here if there's questions about that as well.
Are there any questions? Commissioner
Can I
Schoenberg.
comment? Again, this is a road that's not even a year old. And I know that the memo makes it sound like this is an emergency. It's not an emergency, it's a planned project. And I think that, once again, cutting up a newly paved road, I know you have a plan, et cetera, but this is a street that we paid for. Our taxes paid to pave this street, and now it's going to be chopped up and reduce the life of this paving project that we're paying, $37 million for, because Liberty wants to go according to their plan. And I think that, I think it's irresponsible.
So if I could jump in, again, this is Brad Marks with Liberty Utilities. So what happened here is, before Lake Street, this section of Lake Street was paved, we had coordinated to do some work out there to relay ahead of the paving. Unfortunately, it looked like the paving limit went a little bit past where we had stopped. So now that the next section of Lake Street is getting planned to be paved, again, we have to go in and replace Main, but unfortunately, there's a small section of Main that needs to be replaced that was paved over. So all we're doing is just asking to cut into the recently paved section to complete a tying connection. And then, like Mr. Hudson described, we will contribute towards that section getting paved once again when the rest of Lake Street gets paved.
So,
Mr. Shea.
so this is not the length of that 2 miles of freshly paved area, this is at 244? Is that right?
That's-
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. My understanding is kind of the limits of what we paid before. Maybe I'm wrong, but we've had a number of these, and they're kind of like, unfortunately, we're right at the limit of what we paved, and either, we paved a little too much, or Liberty didn't do quite enough gas work, or Pennachuck. So we've had a little bit of these issues where we're at the limits of at the projects. I mean, we're trying to do a better job of when they do gas work or water work or whatever, that we take those a little bit further and get out of those transition areas, apron areas at the end of the paving. But we do have some of these where we've had these issues and we have some overlap, and so it's unfortunate, but we do support them completing the work so that we can finish paving Lake Street.
And so will this be a trench that is then filled, or will this be a pushback of the newly paved area, and then kind of a roll into with the new pavement? Those aren't good words, but like, do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. They'll put the gas, they'll do the gas work, they'll make the standard trench repair. They won't do the moratorium milling because they'll make a contribution, and then we'll do that part of it. So it will get milled, but in a similar fashion it would as if they did it. They'll contribute to that, so it's going to be at no additional cost to the city. But we, as we're running down the street and do our whole operation with that last third of the street, it's more efficient and effective for us to do that versus them do it and then us, try to match to that and have a number of seams on the road. We'll be able to cover up the seams that they did with our mill and overlay, and just have the single seam between the paving mobilizations as we would have anyway. It's just going to be in a different location because we have to go a little bit further to cover this up.
Thank you.
So, as you know, none of us like
I don't
opening
like
up
it
these
either.
roads. I know you don't
Yeah.
either. So, and I'm happy to hear that the city's trying to work out a plan with Liberty so that we have, keep it to a minimum.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and, right, so. Okay, any further questions on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item M is just informational street opening permits. No motion is required. We'll move on to item number N, and who's it? Commissioner Schoeneman?
Excuse me. I move to approve the encumbrance permit for Bird Rides Incorporated from May 1st, 2022 until October 15th, 2022, subject to favorable review and approval by the Office of Corporation Counsel of the 2022 Memorandum of Understanding.
Commissioner Murray, we have Community Development Director Matt Sullivan, who's kind enough to join us on vacation. Well, he's on vacation, and I think he can probably add something to this.
Great, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. You're on.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Commissioners. Appreciate you taking the time. This is, as the motion was made, the 2022 Bird Rides encumbrance permit for the operation of e-scooters within the city of Nashua. I'm joined today by Jeremy Lynch of Bird Rides, our senior account executive, that will be assisting with this memorandum moving forward, should the Board of Public Works consent to it, as well as the operation of Corporation Council. Just a few comments, if I may. You may remember, for those that are termed members on the commission or the board, that this was not reviewed as a formal encumbrance permit in prior years. In fact, it was reviewed as an informational item. Based on the guidance of the Office of Corporation Counsel, we have brought this to you as a formal encumbrance permit request for the 2022 operation based on, again, guidance from the office relative to encumbrance within the right-of-way, and specifically the operation of the scooters within the right-of-way and the parking of the scooters in the right-of-way. Should the board choose to approve or move forward with the motion this evening, the MOU will be forwarded to the mayor for review and approval. And hopefully, we're planning for slow deployment of the scooters within the community starting May 1st, which is just this weekend, again, assuming favorable review and approval. Just a few quick comments, if I may. There are some changes to the 2022 program based on some feedback that we received from the community in 2021. Number one, we've added an exclusionary area that's been provided within the Mines Falls Park geography. That's shown on page 2 of the memorandum included within your packets. Specifically, that was added to avoid any conflicts between the e-scooter operation and pedestrians and other users in the park. We had heard some feedback in prior years that would be something that would be a priority. And as a result, we've provided that to Bird, and that will be added as an exclusionary area for scooter operation. Second, Bird has responded to community feedback and worked with the city to provide a new fleet manager for the scooters. As you may know, the city is not responsible for maintaining this service or operating the service. It's done both by Bird and by a responsible local fleet manager who moves the scooters in and out of the community, does maintenance, does charging, all of the customary requirements for actually using the service with the community. Third, a new fleet of scooters will be deployed. We had some responses last year or concerns rather related to the quality of the scooters that were being used in the community, and Bird has responded by making commitment to supply new birds for use. And then lastly, Bird will be working directly with city staff as part of this agreement this year, should it be approved, to identify priority locations for deployment, and specifically doing that based on recognized patterns in commuting and also destinations within the community. So we're working to improve how the scooters are actually deployed. I'd just like to quickly emphasize that although we've heard concerns in the past about conflicts between the scooters, pedestrians, and vehicles based on where the scooters are being used, I'm not aware of any direct accidents, incidents, or the like, nor have we received any direct feedback related to concerns, particularly between pedestrians and scooters. So very positive feedback that we've heard to date. Just a few other quick comments, if I may, before answering any questions that you might have. This year, our offering is between 125 and 200 scooters working with Bird in the community, which is an enhancement from where we've been in the past. The maximum ride speed, both on the sidewalk and in the road, of course, is 50 miles an hour. Folks are encouraged to use alternative means other than the sidewalk, but we do recognize that there's a need for safe passage. Riders must be a minimum of 18 years of age, and certainly they're encouraged, if not told, to wear a helmet to operate the scooter safely. And finally, I just encourage any members of the board to maybe take a ride on a scooter in the event you do approve this. It's really a safe and I believe a great enhancement to the way that you experience our downtown and the other areas included within the geography. We're really excited about rolling this program out for yet another year. And I just want to thank you for your consideration of this request on behalf of Bird. This is certainly a move forward, a small move forward, but a critical one in implementing the access to alternative transportation modes within the city of Nashua in the context of our Imagine Nashua Master Plan. And we thank you for your consideration of this request. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and Jeremy is here as well if there are others.
Commissioner Shea.
Do we have any opportunity to discuss the rate for the service in Nashua? Looking at, we used to have Vioride in the city, and of course COVID happened between deploying that service, and I get the sense that that company was maybe undercapitalized, and for a lot of reasons their model was not so resilient in the event of COVID unfolding. I saw them kind of selling a lot of their scooters that they had on deck. But the rates for the Bird scooters, we're looking at, I think, 2.8 times the cost per minute. It's maybe, I want to say 15 cents a minute for the, my math is bad on that multiple, but it's 15 cents a minute on the Via rides, $1 to unlock. For these Bird scooters, it's $1 to unlock and 39 cents a minute. If you get caught up at a stop sign, you're paying $1.50, depending on the stoplight, to sit there. If you're really going to use it for transportation, and depending on your distance, it might actually end up being cheaper to take an Uber somewhere. So I have found the Bird service to be fun, but prohibitively expensive, and I'd be curious to know if Nashua has any opportunity to discuss the rates that people pay within our city.
Commissioner Shea, I'd be happy to respond, and I'm going to ask Jeremy to respond a bit as well. The rates, the rates are not a consideration within the MOU nor in the encumbrance permit directly. That said, I think there's certainly an opportunity for not only you as a commissioner, certainly the board more generally, and the community to at least make a request of Bird to discuss that rate, but it not being a specific term or condition of either the encumbrance permit nor of the MOU itself. I'm not sure that it's something that we can strictly require modification to, but I would ask if Mr. Lynch is comfortable, perhaps he can respond to some of those concerns.
Yeah, so as far as the previous rate, one of the reasons why they're probably not there anymore is the 15 cents is an extremely low price, probably dating back to 2018 and 17 when we first started the business in Venice, California. 39 cents is probably one of our lower end markets right now, considering it's a per minute fee. The $1 to get on and 39 cents, 39 minutes, or 39, cents a minute thereafter. A 10-minute ride, that's really not that much money. If you're talking about a 10-minute ride, considering what an Uber ride would be. We do have community pricing that is available, so anyone that is on any kind of community assistance, a veteran, I think it's there's several other categories that we do have. So you can get 50% off the ride if you do qualify, if you can prove that you are on state assistance. There are pricing programs that do allow for those that it could be price prohibitive to them to allow them to get that 50% off discount. So we do have means for those that can't afford that price. But we found, in the 350 cities we are worldwide, that number seems to be good for us. And it really does. As far as the issue with that pricing as well is that the fleet manager gets a percentage of that ride revenue. And so it kind of makes it, the lower it goes, the less money they make and the less attractive it is for someone to actually engage in that role for us. So we kind of have to price it so the money that the local person is making, actually managing that fleet for us, is something that is something that attracts someone and will keep them in that role.
I appreciate the insight. I just think that the idea that $1 to unlock and then it would be, $3.90 on top of that for a 10-minute ride. If somebody's using this for a commute to work and they're making a low wage, I mean, that's a considerable amount. Say it's $5 both ways, $10. You're working 5 days a week, that's $50 a week, that's $200 a month. You might as well have a car and a car payment. I don't know that we can do anything about it in the context of this conversation, but it's a concern of mine, and I think adoption is perhaps harmed over the long run by the cost of it, and the notion that this service would be used for people who can't necessarily afford a car or do not have a driver's license or for any amount of reasons, using this as a real utility for transportation, I do believe that cost is prohibitive to that end. I think for somebody who has a good paying job and a couple of bucks to burn and they want to have fun on an afternoon, I think it's a great thing, but the reality of this is a solution for commuting to a job within the city or to a meeting or to the library or what have you. I think the idea versus the reality, I think there's a mismatch there based on the pricing. And I appreciate you listening to my feedback.
Sure. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Shoneman?
Can you remind me what the city's responsibility is in this contract? What does the city pay, if anything? What is our commitment to this contract?
Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Chair,
Sullivan.
I'm happy to respond. The city's commitment is essentially nothing, Commissioner Shoneman. Thank you for the question. We are simply providing an opportunity to encumber and therefore sort of a license for them to operate within the city. It is a non-exclusive license per the terms of the MOU, but we're allowing them to operate within the city's market. There are no obligations of the city to perform any duties directly as a result of the memorandum of understanding, but I would ask Mr. Lynch to clarify my comments if such is necessary.
No, you're right. There's no financial commitment from the city. I guess the only participation would be, in some of the product features that we have, considering no ride zones or areas where, if there's construction that's coming up or a parade or things like that, where you would want scooters not to be ridden in that area, giving us and that's why our account manager will be working with someone from the city so that you can let us know about those particular events or issues that come up. If a water main break for DPW, something like that, we can create no ride zones so the scooters would be prohibited from riding into there, so that they do not become get in the way, or at least involve themselves in some kind of construction that could be going on. So again, those kind of things are important for us to know. And like Matt had said about areas where, with Mine Falls Park, those places that come up, if someone is interested, is there any way we could, make this a no ride zone, or, other things like that? We're always have the ability to make those areas and create those areas in case of need. So I guess that's really just that kind of participation from the city, and any kind of feedback, like the councilman said, regarding pricing and things like that, to let us know about that is always important. And that's kind of really why we keep that partnership window open, so we can, listen to complaints or, any concerns and address those.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shea?
And again, I don't think this is something that we can really address in the context of this conversation, but while we're talking about this, I would be against the idea of prohibiting the use in Mine Falls Park, especially where that is a real important throughway for pedestrian and two-wheeled traffic. There are many people who do use that for commute from apartments over on Broad Street to a job downtown, it's a low-powered, low-sound vehicle that doesn't go much, if not slower than a bicycle. Those are my thoughts on that. And then I have one other thing, and I appreciate it. The train tracks on Main Street. We will, I think for a lot of reasons, and I understand that they are kind of the responsibility of the train owner, is that correct? The person who operates the train, kind of maintaining the asphalt at that site. So in riding the bird scooters over that, which like Main Street is like where you want to be with bird scooters, it is jarring. And I imagine that people with bicycles experience the same thing, but like if you are standing and you're maybe a little slack-jawed while you're driving your thing, it's a real possibility that you could hit that thing and chip a tooth, or have a wheel go in the ditch and fall over. And so that's another concern that I have, that I think that, I don't know how cooperative the train owner is, or if there's anything that we can do to compel them to better maintain it, or partner with them to a greater degree to maintain it. I think attention to that for the safety of these scooters and for general people on bicycles will be good for us to continue to progress towards attending to more.
We have been trying. We will continue to try.
I appreciate it.
Alderman
Thank
you.
Commissioner Shea brings up a very good point, but the previous owner was Pan Am Rail, and I wouldn't really say 100% cooperative to the needs of the city on these particular items. But I think Monday, there's a new sheriff in town, and the CSX, they are taking over, they purchased from Pan Am, so perhaps it might be wise to reach out with the new owners and see if there might be, but it's only been about a week, and I don't think they've gotten their feet wet yet completely, but maybe something that could be done. I agree with you, but we haven't had a heck of a lot of luck, you know, particularly for Main Street. There's a lot that could be done with that particular, you know, but.
I would agree.
The only question I had, Ms. Sullivan, has the chain of communication been established as to who's going to be contacting Bird Rides when we have these events?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. I have been established as the temporary point of contact. Members of the board may remember that Julie Chismis, who recently unfortunately left the city, was the primary point of contact. In her absence, I will be serving in that role until such time that that position is filled. I will be providing the data and any updates necessary, but it will also be critical for me to establish those points of contact with folks involved with road closures, any incidents that may occur related to emergency events. I will be serving that role, but that outreach will occur immediately subsequent to this approval, if in fact it does happen.
Thank you. Further questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next, Administration Department. This is informational only, so there's no motion required. Information on the snow budget, budget transfers, and the director's report. Are there any questions on any those before the director gives her report? Seeing none, Director?
I'll get through this quickly. I know it's getting late. This is Sunapee Street. This is Narbonne Concrete Contractors finishing ADA curb ramps on Sunapee on April 13th. Sunshine Paving milled Huntington Lane and Doncaster Drive on April 12th. Picture of that. This is a sewer replacement on East Pearl Street. This is an emergency sewer repair at Park in Maine. You probably saw this occurring. This was replaced by SUR West between April 19th and the 26th. The work involved removal of concrete roadbed and deep excavation around numerous utilities. The docks are in for the summer. This is the installation of the dock in Mine Falls. It's always exciting. This was our walkthrough of the disc golf park. There's been some things said about Mayor Donchis being a disc golfer. He is absolutely not a disc golfer. Never thrown a disc in his life. This is the first time. He was a good sport about it. But he's definitely not, nor does he intend to play disc golf. So. But it was a great day, and the street department's doing a really good job out there. And we appreciate Rotary West's support for this project. This is a picture of the bridge that we talked about earlier that we had to close from Nashua High School South for structural concerns. And we've been getting a lot of feedback. People are unhappy about that and anxious to get the bridge back. We've been clearing medians on Amherst Street and citywide with sweepers and blowers. Street crews made a repair to a double catch basin that was collapsing due to its age on North Southwood Drive. This is a catch basin repair, again, located in the parking lot at Nashua High South. We've been doing a lot of lawn damage repair after our winter plowing. We have one thing that we enjoy doing, and we do a fair amount of at Wastewater, is having student tours. And this is a group of, a homeschool group from Concord that came. So it was nice to have kids come back to the plant to learn about wastewater. We installed a new water system in the lab. This is necessary for the permits, for our permitting, our permit. And we're required to have a certain quality of water, so we just installed a new system. Curbside collection, again, we want to remind everybody to maintain a proper 3-foot distance between their trash, recycling, and yard waste. One thing that happens every year that we ask residents to please not put any hot coals, either from a charcoal grill or from a fire. That creates some problems. It can cause a fire in our packers or in the landfill. So, and please don't drop it off either. We did have a bit of a brush fire because somebody dropped some coals in the brush pile. So please don't do that. Even it's amazing. Sometimes you think that you know they're okay, but they're really not. There still could be some hot coals. So please, we ask residents to be aware of that. The other problem that we have this time of year is pool chemicals. Pool chemicals are very dangerous, especially when you put them in a packer or something, and then they're compacted. They can explode and cause a lot of problems. Very dangerous. Those should be brought to our household hazardous waste collection. C-Click Fix, which I spoke with Commissioner Shea about earlier this week, is now online. You can download the app and use it. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. We certainly could have a demonstration, but I think if you need any additional help, let us know, because we're happy to walk you through it. But it's very easy to use, very intuitive, and easy to download. So, and it's a great tool, and residents are using it. We're seeing so. And there are a lot of communities that have this app, and it's really a great app can report almost anything. So it's primarily right now just for Public Works, but it certainly could be expanded to other city departments.
It'd be nice if they had that for private property. Like, there is a tremendous hole in the Dunkin' Donuts on drive-through on the Merrimack-Nashua line. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, I went around the corner and I was like, thank goodness I just went enough around, because my tire could have gotten stuck right there. It was a deep, deep hole. But I'm like, no, it doesn't belong to the city.
No, I'm glad you missed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So that's it. Any questions?
Good. Very good. Okay, we'll move on to commissioners' comments.
I have one. Since we're all concerned about the amount of cutting into our moratorium, and I realize that the emergency fixes are different, but when the gentleman I don't remember the engineering firm, but they're doing the assisted living for the elderly on Concord Street, talked about how they knew where they fell in the moratorium. When you go in front of the planning board to get a permit, can we not ask people, have you checked where you are on the moratorium? Or have the planning board say, I'm sorry, we just paved White Oak Street. You can't do this. It seems to me that should just be a simple, easy checklist. For example, when our next door neighbor put in this berm, he had to do a lot of things, and it really didn't affect us. But he had to do that, and I don't see why that is not required, particularly of somebody doing a major development, or, that firm, what is it? I forget what the name of the firm, they knew it was coming. So I don't think it's that heavy a lift to ask somebody. There's got to be a list, right, of what's in moratorium. Mm-hmm. And the planning board could just say, okay, you're on this street, no, you're in moratorium. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know if that can be, I don't know how that works within the city government. I know things about the planning board, but it seems to me there should be some way to do that, because nobody wants to keep paying lots and lots of money to have the streets torn up. I mean, some we can't prevent. I mean, an emergency sewer repair is an emergency sewer repair. But if you're going to do something that's planned, you should have to plan for that as well.
So we do send out cards before we pave that explains to people, look, if you need to get some utility work done, get it done now because you won't be able to after we pave. So we do send out those notifications. The problem with planning board is that oftentimes there's a much bigger approval than just cutting into a street. So typically what will happen is they will tell them, our city engineer sits on the planning board, and they're told that they need to go to the Board of Public Works to get an exception. So that's typically the way it works. So they are aware at the planning board level, but it doesn't hold up the approval of the site plan.
It
So
seems to me
I
there
see what
should
you're
be
saying.
some mechanism by which to say, the same way we charge developers if they're going to do certain things.
The problem has been partially created by our paving program, too. We have been paving so aggressively for the past 5 years,
Right.
5 or 6 years, that the utilities just can't keep up.
Mhm.
They just can't keep up, and so that is also part of the problem. And now we're seeing so many streets that have been newly paved that it's hard not to end up with some problems. Where in the past, we didn't see this because
We
our
didn't
streets
pave
were
them.
were sort of a mess. So that's part of the issue too, is, when, and in the next 5 years, really, we'll have all of our, hopefully, or most, not all, but most of our streets in the next 5 years will all be up to speed. So we're going to see more and more of that, unfortunately, just because of that. But they're trying, Liberty, Pennachuck, even our wastewater program, we're doing our best to try to coordinate things and defer streets if we have to, if utilities can't keep up. So we're doing the best we can to coordinate that, but given all the streets that are being paved, that's why you're seeing more and more of these.
Alderman O'Brien.
Director Photo, I'm glad you mentioned the aggressiveness of the paving. I mean, it's practically spot on. And the people, the citizens can refer to last night's infrastructure meeting because that was specifically mentioned. I don't have the numbers correct off the top of my head, but when you go from something from, maybe 5 miles per year to 11 miles, you're doubling in intensity. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So, thank you for bringing that up. And I think that's part of the issue. But again, that could be, if people refer back to last night's infrastructure, you'll see the presentation.
Thank you. Other comments by commissioners? Okay, we'll move on to personnel. Commissioner Shea, would you mind reading motion A?
The motion is to accept the resignation of Mr. Sean Dennehy of Chelmsford, Mass., collection system operator at the wastewater treatment facility, effective March 29th, 2022.
Okay, that's the motion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Does the director usually talk about that or not? Usually comment on?
I don't
Not usually.
really, he just went for a different opportunity, so, yeah.
Thank you. Motion carries. Commissioner Lemon, item number B.
Non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
That is the motion to go into non-public.
We all set in non-public?
Okay, I move to seal the minutes of the Board of Public Works Personnel, non-public meeting of April 28th, 2022, until such time as the majority of the board votes that the purpose of the confidentiality will no longer be served. That is the motion. Does not require roll call, so. Does it? No, it doesn't.
No, it does require, I believe that does require roll call.
We usually do, I don't know why that's.
Okay.
So.
Okay, Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
Commissioner Shea?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. There's only one motion left to do. Commissioner Shea.
Oh, goody. Leaving you hanging up. Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.